time for another power level video. This time we're going to cover all of the big movie villains, as well as their entourage of minions. Now, we can finally look at the other page of the Movie 3 Power Levels pamphlet. It has some gems, like Frieza at 85,000, directly contradicting Frieza's own word, or Qui, who Dodoria says is at 18,000, only being at 8,700. In fact, every character from the anime on this entire page is wrong. I guess we'll see how accurate the movie side of the page is as we get going. When going over the movies, I feel like I need to establish this beforehand. A large portion of the movies don't fit anywhere into the timeline, so we're going to do the same thing as the movies, and take our characters from whatever part of the anime they were in when the movie came out, assuming the placement isn't obvious. Since I've already covered all of Dragon Ball, I'll probably just pull out numbers every once in a while. If I don't explain something, it's cause it's from the previous video. There's this running idea that the movie versions of our characters are stronger than they are in the canon story, like Goku shaking the universe in Fusion Reborn, something he probably shouldn't be able to do by the end of Dragon Ball Z. Now, we're just gonna ignore most of these outlying feats. You and I both know that wasn't the intention of the movie writers, and they just did whatever they thought looked cool. That's why they brought Broly back 3 times. Before we get into the powers, my own training has been paying off greatly. I've even surpassed the movie pamphlet version of Nappa, though I'm pretty sure the real Nappa is much stronger, so I can still use all the help I can get. Getting into it, we start with our original Dragon Ball movie, The Dead Zone. I know there's others, but they're all weird alternate world stories with our characters. Now to start off, our boys Goku, Piccolo, Krillin, and Kami are present. This movie takes place very close to the start of Dragon Ball Z, so their power levels would be basically the same. Goku has 334 with his weights, and 416 without. Piccolo has 322 and 408 without his weights. Krillin is sitting at 206 and Kami is at 285. Garlic Jr.'s Spice Boys seem to all be around the same level. They put up a decent fight, but Goku beats 2 of them together while weighted, so they're around 250 each. Garlic himself has the advantage over Kami, so let's give him 350. After Garlic transforms, he takes on Goku and Piccolo at the same time. He dominates before they take off their weights, and are able to push him back. So let's say he's a bit stronger than them individually at 440. Now, I wasn't sure where to put this, but I decided here was the best spot, as this is where it fits in terms of the progression of power. What am I referring to? The Bardock special, of course. People don't really consider it a movie, but I don't know where else I would cover it, so here it is. We see Prince Vegeta casually kill a group of Cybermen, who each have a power level of 1200. As an adult, Vegeta is at 18,000, so as a child I tend to think he's around 10,000. The other characters we know the level of is Dodoria at 20,000, who easily dispatches of Bardock, so let's put Bardock around 10,000 as well. He easily takes down Dodoria's goons, so let's put them around the 5,000 range. It makes sense for one of Frieza's top guys to have strong underlings, and those underlings kill Bardock's entire squad. They're considered low class, but like Bardock, have tons of experience, so let's put them in the range of the 3,000 to 4,000s, well above Raditz, who was only around 1,200. After Bardock survives his fight with Dodoria, he would probably get a Zenkai boost. Let's give him a 5 times boost to 50,000. That would be pretty impressive if his final opponent wasn't Frieza at 530,000 in his first form. On to the world's strongest. This one takes place right after Vegeta. We could argue Goku has a Zenkai from said fight with Vegeta, but it seems to me that he isn't stronger here, as Kaioken times 4 is still his limit. So Goku remains at his iconic level of 8001, but can access much higher levels with the Kaioken. Master Roshi, at his level of 139, beats down the discount Cybermen. They don't seem that strong, so let's give them 80 each. Next are Dr. Wheelo's Biofighters. They all lack in raw power compared to base Goku, but make up for it with their gimmicks. Considering how well they take hits from Goku, I'll give them around 6,000 each. Krillin and Gohan come to help, but can't keep up at all. I made a mistake in my Z video, and hyped these guys up way too much. So, here we can correct that. While enraged, Gohan powered up to 2,800. So in base, let's put him at half of that at 1,400. And put Krillin slightly higher at 1,600. Piccolo at this point should only be around 2000. So I'm assuming Dr. Wheelo powered him up to fight Goku. Let's put mind-controlled Piccolo at 7000. Now for Dr. Wheelo himself. He's pretty impressive, and Goku has to use his Kaioken to start dealing damage, and even needed a ×4 to overpower him. Let's give him a 25,000. Alright, next is the Garden Gang and their mighty tree. This movie takes place while Goku is arriving on Namek, putting Goku at 90,000 here. Krillin was at 28,000, and Gohan was at 32,000. Turles forces Gohan to transform, bringing him up to 320,000, and even though it makes no sense, Piccolo got around 50,000 from training with King Kai for like 10 days, so the others should get similarly ridiculous boosts. If we maintain a similar gap in power to the one they had before their training, then Tien would be at 36,000, Yamcha would be around 24,000, and Chaozu would sit at 21,000. Turles' goons all win their fights, so we can put them around the 30 to 40,000 range. Next, we get some action from Turles himself. He was stronger than Piccolo, but not Goku. Let's give him 70,000. Of course that's before he gets his hands on the fruit of the Tree of Might. He gets so much stronger that he's able to beat down a Kaioken ×10 Goku at 900,000, meaning Turles is probably like at 1,000,000. Where can I get some of that fruit? Following that, we get Lord Slug. This one happens during the fight with Frieza, while Goku is still healing, but just like before, I would lean towards everyone still being the same level as the last one, as it makes the most sense. And just like the last one, these minions are stronger than Gohan, but weaker than Piccolo, so they also fit into the range of 30 to 40,000. Now where things do change is the fight with Lord Slug. Instead of using Kaioken, Goku uses the fan-dubbed form, False Super Saiyan. This happened because the movie team wanted to use Super Saiyan, but didn't actually know what it looked like, as it hadn't happened in the manga yet. But regardless, I'm still going to treat it like Super Saiyan, seeing as that was the intent by the writers. So Goku gets the 50 times boost to 4,500,000. He just kind of falls out of the form randomly, and Slug takes back control of the fight. Speaking of Slug, he was destroying Goku before he transformed, and it wasn't close. So let's give Slug like 1,000,000. He does turn giant later, but I'm under the impression that becoming giant doesn't actually make a Namekian stronger. Now, it's time for the second most recognizable movie villain, Cooler. This movie takes place during the 3 years of training before the androids appear. Now, Cooler's minions are stronger than Gohan, but a little weaker than Piccolo. Wait a minute, I'm seeing a pattern here. Well, at this point in the story, I think Gohan was at 1,100,000, and Piccolo was at 1,250,000, so the minions must fall in between the two. Obviously, there's not a ton of wiggle room here, but I think the movie team is under the impression that there's a bigger gap between Gohan and Piccolo, while I think the manga implies they're fairly close in power. Eventually, Goku and Cooler finally fight. Goku's base at this point would be 6 million. I think about this all the time. Cooler's base form is matching Goku, and he is forced to transform to start beating Goku. This means Cooler's base is only 6 million as well. Frieza's base power is 120 million, so Cooler is significantly weaker than Frieza. Now, luckily for him, Cooler's 5th form allows him to surpass Frieza, considering he easily beats down Goku, even with an assumed Kaioken ×20, making Goku 120 million just like Frieza. But after Goku goes Super Saiyan, Cooler is the one who doesn't stand a chance. Goku in Super Saiyan here is 300 million, so Cooler must fall around 210 million. And that's it for Cooler's revenge. Alright, I hope you're not tired of Cooler, because it's time for the revenge of Cooler's revenge. This one takes place closer to the end of the 3 years of training before the androids appear. The minions this time are these robots, and our B team struggles a bit before figuring out how to destroy them. The B team consists of Piccolo, who should be almost as strong as a Super Saiyan Goku at this point, at 340 million, Krillin, who I think is closer to 10 million, and Gohan, who falls between the two at like 100 million. These robots are weird, as they tank an attack from the powerhouse that is Piccolo, while also later being destroyed by the much weaker Krillin. I feel like leaning more in the direction that the movie staff just doesn't realize how strong Piccolo is supposed to be here, so I'll give the robots a 12 million. Meanwhile, Goku fights Cooler. After going Super Saiyan and reaching 350 million, he's able to overpower Cooler by a bit, so let's give Cooler 330 million. After we realize Cooler can regenerate, Vegeta shows up, and should be close to 400 million. They're able to take Cooler down, only to realize that there's an army of them. How I assume Meta Cooler works is that there's a big pool of energy, but each Cooler can only handle 300 million. We get to see Cooler's core, and I assume it actually can only handle like 100 million, as Goku and Vegeta are able to destroy him while drained. Alright, they've escaped Cooler. Now for Super Android 13. This one is during the Android arc, but before any time chamber training, so most of our characters are at the same level as the last one, with the exception of Piccolo, who has fused with Kami at this point, putting him at 1 billion. Though, I'm not sure the movie writers thought about that, so it might make more sense to stick to his previous 340 million. Trunks is here this time, and is also at 350 million in Super Saiyan. He fights Android 14 and narrowly wins, so 14 is at 330 million, and 15 fights Vegeta, who is stronger at 400 million, so 15 is around 380 million. Goku and 13 have a close-looking fight, but under the laws of power progression, he must be the strongest as the boss. So let's put him at 410 million, and say he was just playing with Goku. After he transforms, he casually destroys our guys, so let's put him at 1,500 million. Goku absorbs the Spirit Bomb into his body, temporarily powering himself up to like 3 billion. Okay, oh lordy, here he comes. It's Broly. This one takes place during the 10 days before the Cell games. So Goku in base form is at 360 million now, and he fights a Super Saiyan Broly. Goku is stronger than Broly, so this means Super Saiyan Broly is like 340 million in Super Saiyan, and around 6 million in base. Now put down your pitchforks, Broly fans, as we're introduced to his main ability. While in battle, Broly's power rapidly increases as he fights. By the end of the first fight, I'd say Broly reached around 400 million. After that, everyone fights against Broly in his legendary Super Saiyan form. Piccolo should be like 4 billion, Trunks is at 10 billion, Vegeta is at 12 billion, Goku is at 18 billion, and Gohan is at 20 billion. Broly manhandles them, so at the start of their fight, Broly is at 30 billion, and near the end of their fight, he probably reaches like 50 billion. Everyone gives Goku their power, letting Goku momentarily reach 64 billion in order to beat Broly. Okay, time for the weird one. Plan to eradicate the Saiyans happens like 2 days after Broly. They fight a bunch of these weird minions, but we can't really scale them as the fog machines are messing with our hero's power, but I assume they are weaker than the movie villains who make a reappearance later. So below Slug at 1 million, so around 700 to 800,000 each. The other villains include a reappearance of Turles at 1 million, as well as Base Cooler at 6 million, and 50% Frieza at 60 million. After that, we get rid of the fog machines and take on the big boss. Hachiyak is stated by Goku to be stronger than Broly, so 60 million. Now that that menace is gone, let's move on to the next one, in Bojack. This one takes place after the Cell games, and everyone is the same level as they were in the last one. Trunks has a sick fight with Tien. They seem equal in base, but Tien can't keep up with Super Saiyan. We know Trunks is around 200 million in base. I have said before that I doubt the humans were anywhere near that, being closer to 10 million. But at least in this movie, our boy Tien is rocking his 200 million. Bojack's race can transform, but the only members of the group that can do it are Bojack himself and Kogu. Despite being able to transform, he seems to be the weakest member, as he gets one shot by Super Saiyan Trunks, so let's give him 8 billion. Despite not being able to transform, all of the others are at a similar level, being able to team up against Gohan and not lose easily, so around 8 to 10 billion each. Bojack himself is giving Vegeta a run for his money, so let's give him 15 billion in base, and after transforming, he's slightly beating Gohan, so let's give him 25 billion. Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2, reaching 40 billion, and easily takes care of Bojack. Did you miss Broly? Because he's back. This one happens before Gohan's boost from the Elder Kai. Broly's Super Saiyan form was at 400 million before, and here, he just kind of messes around with Goten and Trunks for a weirdly long time, until Gohan finally arrives. Gohan in base is around 360 million, so it makes a lot of sense for him to be able to fight Broly in Super Saiyan. Eventually, they both power up, and I'll say Gohan went Super Saiyan 2, even though it's not visually clear. So at 36 billion, he's not doing so well against Broly's 50 billion. Luckily for them, they don't give Broly much time to get stronger, as they quickly hit him with the Sun Family Kamehameha. sending Broly into the sun. Oh, did you think Broly was gone? Nah, time for Bio Broly. This one is pretty soon after the last one. Goten is around 95,000, and Trunks is at 108,000, and Android 18 is at 800 million. They fight some Bio Warriors, and it's unclear how strong they are, since they're so much weaker. But Mr. Satan doesn't want to mess with them, and he's at like 50, so let's put them at around 80. Eventually we get Broly himself, and let me say, he's nowhere near the original. He does dominate in his fight with 18, but that doesn't mean much compared to the original. He also isn't instantly killing Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks, so let's put him at 1 billion. Krillin was also here, in this one, and briefly in the last one. If we give him the filler movie wank like Tien, then Krillin can be at like 180 million. And before we move on, I know the movie writers probably also think Goten and Trunks are stronger than they should be. In the movies, their Super Saiyan forms are probably closer to Krillin at 200 million, instead of their canon powers that are only around like 5 million. Is he gone? Finally. At least Cooler had the decency to go down after 2. Okay, Fusion Reborn time. This movie fits absolutely nowhere, but the only time Vegeta and Goku are both dead is right after Goku returns to the other world. We see Gohan at 360 million one-shot Frieza, who should be at 160 million. Meanwhile, in Hell, Goku fights Janemba in Super Saiyan 3. If Goku needed to go Super Saiyan 3, then Janemba must be above Goku's Super Saiyan 2. So let's give Janemba 100 billion. Super Saiyan 3 Goku is at 200 billion, and after transforming, Janemba is stronger than Goku, but not by so much that Goku doesn't stand a chance, so 250 billion. Vegeta shows up and he's at 50 billion in Super Saiyan 2. Goku and Vegeta fuse and Gogeta stands tall, making light work of Janemba at 125 trillion. Now, for the only thing on this list that actually qualifies as a movie, and isn't just a special that we call a movie for some reason. Wrath of the Dragon is a great time, but the power levels are questionable. Starting with Tapion, and I hate to break this to you, but Tapion isn't a fighter at all. We never see him fight. At best, he's maybe like 500, which is the average Frieza Force soldier's level. And he's probably not even that strong. The Evil Wizard isn't that strong either, so like 700. Eventually he succeeds in freeing Hirudegan, and it ends up getting beaten down by Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, who was at 285 billion. So let's put Hirudegan at 250 billion, and the two halves of Hirudegan at 125 billion each. After emerging from his shell, Hirudegan is able to easily beat down both Gotenks and Ultimate Gohan at 360 billion. So let's put Hirudegan at 400 billion. Now, despite being twice as strong as Goku, Goku realizes Hirudegan is weakened by strong emotion, so he's able to exploit its weakness in order to land the extremely powerful Dragon Fist attack. There, another group of characters sorted into convenient math, but now I don't have anything left to stall the super video. Ugh. Anyways, I hope you're having a good day, and see you next time.